Welcome to Slacker Gaming and welcome to the channel where you usually find helpful guides, builds, tutorials, rebuilds, everything like that. And we're going to be doing a rebuild, and I try to do one of these every year and it seems like they kind of stall out because I'm trying to do too much in one season. And so I've watched some other content creators and kind of the stuff they do. And so I want to change it up a little bit this year. We're going to be doing it different than years past where I played almost every single game and all that stuff. So it is going to be a little bit different. So if you guys would like to watch the Royals rebuild, let's get it started. Well, besides the terrible intro, we are definitely picking the Royals. I always pick the Royals because I just feel like it's hard to rebuild a team that you feel no connection with. I feel like, oh, okay, I can rebuild the, Astros because, okay, I can just get rid of people and not even care. Whereas I feel like the Royals, I kind of owe them, so I'm not going to be getting rid of Salvi and stuff like that, and I'm not going to be trading Wit and all that stuff. So I like to pick the Royals because I love to rebuild them. I love to see them do good, and that's exactly what we're going to do in this one. Using the updated rosters with all of the prospects in them. I'm not 100% sure every single prospect ever even in a farm is in it, but I do know that most of them are in it. So and then I went through and looked at stuff and I was like, this is probably what they should be. You get rosters sometimes that all of the prospects are A's or whatever. And I feel like they did a really good job with this roster. But yeah, definitely a good roster to start us off. Now, you're going to do it as probably just do... I'm going to turn off because I'm going to rebuild it no matter what. Yeah, you can be like, well, you're not supposed to take 3 years. Well, I want to build for the long term. I don't want to build and then I get into my third year and have to make all these crazy trades and stuff like that and sign all these free agents that the Royals would never sign. The Royals don't spend money. So we need to do this rebuild without veering too far off of what the Royals would do. That being said, we're going to kind of pick what we want to do with this team and just kind of roll with it. We're going to just kind of be like, okay, this is the type of team we're going to be. Let's build this team this way. And it could take as many years as it needs to take. So that being said, all this is off. The CPU trading's on, designated hitters on, and extra inning runner is on as well. All this stuff will be manual. I will take care of all of this stuff. And a lot of the stuff you'll see is kind of offline. You won't even really see me do a lot of if I'm looking at trades and stuff, I'm not going to bore you with all the trades I try to do. I'm just going to kind of do the trades and then at the end be like, okay, this is what we decided on this trade, X, Y, and Z. And then I love this. The custom game entry, this is kind of the main reason why I'm switching to this rebuild style, because I feel like they do a great job of putting you in great situations. And so I don't want to have to play every single game. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't want to have to play every single game. To me, that's just not, it's just not fun to play every game. I've done that, and it's just no, I'm done playing all the games. I want this to be a simulation. I want this to be realistic. So if I play every game, it's not going to be realistic because chances are I'm going to win them a lot more games than they would in general. So that being said, we're going to start off from spring training, and that's what this episode is going to be. This is going to be just mostly the spring training part of it. I'm going to kind of break down our roster, explain what we want to do and how we want to build this roster going forward. But the biggest thing is we're just going to go through spring training and then get that done, and that will be basically the episode. So that all being said, I've decided that I want to build this team like the 2013-2014 Royals, which is a lot of speed, okay starting pitching, a great bullpen, and just players that hit. We're going to kind of slowly move towards that, and that you're going to see that when we draft. I'm not going to draft a guy that, has 99 power but can't do anything else. I'm not going to draft that type of player because that player won't really do that well in Kauffman. Kauffman has deep walls, meaning a lot of them are going to have to just be contact hits, and we're going to have to run bases. We're going to have to steal bases. We're going to have to get into bullpens and stuff like that. So that's how we're going to rebuild this team. That's how we want to build it. It worked in 2013 and 2014, and that's how we're going to build it now. So going through our roster, just kind of show you what we got here. We got Cole Reagans. Really expecting him to do a lot this year, kind of being our ace. We kind of expect him to eat up a lot of the innings. Age 26, he's got some good stuff. He's got a good four seam that can usually touch around 100 if it needs to. Then we got Seth Lugo, which I think he's 34 years of age. He's probably a guy that if someone comes knocking and wants a starting pitcher that is trying to, get into the finals or whatever, trying to get into the, I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. Like, look at these stats. The ERA has been really good. The whips have been good the last 2 years. Like, this guy is a good player. And so I don't necessarily want to get rid of him, but if someone comes knocking and it's like, hey, we need to push towards the playoffs, here's a prospect or two and we like the prospect, then Lugo is probably one of those guys that go. Singer, We're holding strong with him. We want to see what he does for the next couple of years. I believe he has contract arbitration for the next 2 years, which will kind of determine if he plays good and his arbitration number is low, then we'll keep him on the team. If he starts struggling and the arbitration is too high, then it might be someone we have to let go. I mean, I love Brady Singer, I really do, but I don't think he's not going to probably ever be an ace. Michael Wacha, another guy that's like, if somebody comes knocking and needs a pitcher or something later in the season, then he might be a guy that we have to let go. Kyle Wright, I'd like to see stick around. I think he's got what it takes to kind of become an ace. I think he has a couple of years left to kind of prove it. I mean, you saw the one good year in Atlanta, and then kind of since then, not so hot with injuries and bullpen and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see what Kyle Wright does this year, and we might have to either move on from him. I believe, 1.8, and he has arbitration next year. So we might have to move on from. Daniel Lynch was one of our top prospects a while ago. He just has never strung anything together, really, and so he's a guy that, he's going to be on our team, but no one we're that excited about. Now, going down here, the guys that we are kind of excited for the future on, Chris Bubich, I think, could be good. I think he's like 2 good seasons away from being good. You can't look at this 2023 number and say he's good. He's under 4, but he only pitched 16 innings, and he's kind of been, over 4 ERA and everything. What's his whip on here? Over 4 and 1.7 whip. So not very good stats. So we're looking to see him change this year, next year, or he's a guy we're going to have to move on from. Asa Lacy is a guy that we're definitely looking to build. 24 years of age, been one of our top prospects for a while now. He's actually dropped down the board a little bit this year with injuries and everything happening. I mean, he's kind of a wild card for that, but staying out of injuries will definitely be good and hopefully can help him get to the next level. We got Mazzucato. Looking for him to do really good. 20 years of age. I believe he was, just say when they were picked, I believe he was a first-round pick or second-round pick a couple of years back. Yeah, a couple of years back. So it was him. I think it was him and Asa Lacy, I think, were in the same class. So we're looking for them to make strides. Blake Walters, a young guy that we drafted last year, I believe. He's one of our top prospects now, pushing up the board. I believe he's top 5 or top 10 for sure, jumping up the board there. So looking for him to do some stuff. And then Ben Kudra, looking for him to get some stuff going as well. So we've got some young pitchers that I think we could definitely do stuff with in the future. We just kind of have to get them there and kind of ride the storm out with a player like Cole Reagans, who can kind of get us to the next level. He's 26, so he's really young too. So he could be, that Zach Greinke when he's 32 and still a Cy Young. Like, he could be that pitcher. So we want to keep him around if he keeps doing well, and we want to try to build up the farm from below. Relief pitching, I'm not really going to go over. There's not much to know really about it besides, we're wanting good relief pitching, but it's something that I feel like you kind of put together as you go, and I'm not really worried about it being great this year. Carlos Hernandez is probably one of our best ones. Will Smith, I think, will probably be a trade piece there when it comes to the trade deadline. Did we trade him in 2022? I don't remember. I think we had him before and we traded him. But anyways, back with Kansas City. Probably a trade piece later on. I'm not expecting to make the playoffs this year. So if you're like, hey, why didn't you make the playoffs? It's probably not going to happen because I'm not going to just go out and just flounder everything and try to get, stars. And I'm going to be realistic on the trades. I'm not going to trade a top 5 prospect for a closing pitcher that has a 9.4 ERA. I'm not going to do that. So definitely going to look at trades and be like, is this realistic? Is this something that would possibly happen? Let's do it. If I'm like I'm not going to get the number 1 prospect in MLB. The closing pitcher, James McArthur, I think is probably who's going to be our closer now. Will Klein could see some pitching opportunities later on. Jake Brentz just hasn't done it. He had that 2021 year where he was really good, but 2022 is bad. In 2023, I don't remember if he was hurt or what it was, but he did not pitch well either there. So definitely staying there. Now, one of the exciting positions for the Royals, and it has been for some years because we've had Salvi Perez on our team. Now we've kind of, given the torch to Freddie Fermin, who I think could give us a good couple of years here with the bat and everything. But our ultimate thing is getting to Blake Mitchell, the 19-year-old that we drafted last year. Definitely, he's doing pretty well, actually, in lower A. I think he's in rookie ball right now, but he's doing pretty good down there. And so I feel like he's a guy that we could definitely build on. Looking at his attributes, the contacts and the powers are pretty even, which tells me that, if he gets on a couple hot streaks, now we're looking at like 50s, 50s, 60s, 60s, and then we're looking at MLB. So he's not that far off, but he does have a couple years probably of hitting in the minors to kind of figure that stuff out. Raymond Ramirez is another prospect for us. I believe Blake Mitchell is our number 1 prospect now. Yeah, I think he's our number 1 prospect right now. Ramon Ramirez is another guy that's probably in the top 10. I know we have two catchers in our top 10 right now, so I believe it's him down there as well. So we kind of have the same thing. He's got high 39, then he's got the 40s, the mid 40s. He's got to work on his like arm accuracy, that block stuff like that. That kind of Mitchell already has an upper leg on him, but we could definitely have 2 catchers in the future and either move on from one, or we could have 2 and kind of run it like a DH like Salvi does now with Freddie Fermin. First base, probably as good as it's going to get for a while. We'll see what he can do. We'll see if he continues to do well to play. If he does, he'll play. Nick Prado, we've seen him do well, but then also really struggle every time he gets called up. He mashes in AAA, right? AA mashes, has these great numbers. And then he gets up to the pros, and it's just like he loses how to hit or something. I'm not sure what it is, but he's really struggled when he gets up to the pros. So I'm not really looking to move him up yet until, he's gonna play probably, but he's not gonna be our number 1. That's gonna be Vinny. He's done well the 2 years that he's been up here. So definitely going to keep him as our number 1. Hopefully he continues to hit and continues to grow. As far as prospects, we don't really have any first base prospects. Pasquantino and Prado were our prospects there. We did keep them so far, but definitely nothing to look forward to in the future. Then we look at second base, kind of the same story. Nobody that's here that's like, oh, this is our next guy for the future. Frazier, I don't like the signing of Frazier. I feel like we almost kind of hope he does well, and then we can kind of use him as a trade chip to get some return. But Massey's kind of our guy for the future right here at second base. I think he's kind of proven that he can hold his own, and he's cheap right now. Renewal in 2025 and then arbitration for another 3 years. So he's a guy that we definitely want to keep around for a while. I think they'll be really beneficial to having a second base locked down. So hopefully Massey comes out. In real life, he's been injured quite a bit. I think he's injured right now on opening day. So in real life, he's kind of already behind the 8 ball. Third base, I think, Caden Wallace is down here. He's one of our top prospects there as well at 22. Kind of waiting for him to get up, but Michael Garcia is actually pretty good as well. And I know they're trying to move him around and find a place for him. I don't think he's naturally a third baseman. I think they moved him there. But you can't argue with what he's done. 318, 272. I know the home runs aren't there, but he's not a home run guy. Stolen base is 23. You'd like to see that go up. The strikeouts is a little high. Holy. But yeah, I think he's definitely a guy. He's a contact guy. So I think opening day, I believe he's a number 1 hitter. He's a leadoff. So we'll probably have him in leadoff as well. Eaton, not really looking forward to that. No. So Caden Wallace is basically who we got that's going to be coming up in the future. But we do have Garcia already, so he could take the playing time there as well. Shortstop, you already know, best player on our team, Bobby Witt Jr. Shortstop is his, and I wouldn't see him giving it up at all. Nick Lofton is a guy that I think we could possibly see in the majors, soon and for a while. I think Nick Lofton has the stuff. Like, you look at 2023, hit 323 in 62 at bats. Like, it's not 400 at bats, but it's a small sample size, but he hit well and he did a lot of good things. He's obviously not a power bat, but he did a lot of good things that I think we could definitely use. He's a utility guy, plays shortstop, second, third, left, right, center, so he can play anywhere, which is really, really helpful to have a guy like that, kind of like a Whit Merrifield. If you're a Royals fan, you know what he did for us. So that being said, left fielders, the outfield, MJ Melendez is a potential guy out there. I believe we only have 2 pros that are a potential right now. MJ Melendez has shown he could do stuff, but we're still waiting for him to get like a whole season together. We've definitely seen him improve, but like not be able, he's improved but not been able to like take it over and be like, okay, he is here, he has arrived. It's like you see a little bit like, oh, okay, he's got it, and then we have a slump. And then, he comes back. He's like, okay, he's out of his slump. He's figured it out. And then we go in another slump. So, he's a player that we're just waiting for him to break through and break out and then have a good full season. And then we could see where it goes. As prospects goes, there's really not. Diego Hernandez is a prospect. But other than that, there's not really much going on here. On left field, center field, I have a few good prospects. Isbell is a guy that came up a couple of years ago, I believe, and he's done okay. I mean, he's done good in the outfield. So, I mean, defensively, he's been good. Offensively, struggled kind of the last 2 years. You see that he's got the fielding and the reaction, which is, really what you want in center field. So he's a pretty good center fielder. They traded for Drew Waters, who I believe was with Atlanta a couple of years ago. I believe is where they traded with him. And I feel like, again, he's a guy that's like, okay, is he going to break out and do well, or is he just always going to be kind of meh? So I think this year is kind of make or break year for Drew Waters and us. I think if he does well, then he'll stay around. I think if he struggles around, the trade deadline, I could definitely see him being a trade chip as well. Just because like we're rebuilding, we don't need to keep guys just to keep guys. We need to rebuild for the future. And if he can't figure it out this year, then I think it's time to move on from Drew Waters. Isbell, I think he's probably going to be here for a little bit longer just because I think he will do well enough to stay on the team. And again, the defense is good. Kind of waiting for Gavin Cross to get up here. He's I think our number 2 or number 3 prospect right now. 23 years of age. I believe we drafted him 2 years ago, or 2 years ago, I believe. And we're kind of waiting for him to get up here. It doesn't really say anything about speed. He's really, really fast. He's way higher than 76, but they don't make those changes. But he's really good defensively. He's kind of figuring out the bat. We've seen kind of ups and downs with him as well as a prospect. So we're hoping that this year he takes a big step and can kind of take over the center field role here soon. Last thing, right field. Hunter Renfroe, we picked up in free agency. Nelson Velasquez picked up in free agency, I believe, as well. Either that or we traded for him. I don't really remember. He kind of is a power guy, so he not necessarily a great guy for Kauffman, but definitely will take advantage of the away parks. Blanco has been kind of just a solid guy for us. He does his job. He gets on base. He steals bases. Does kind of that stuff. Does the dirty work. 258 is not great, but if you steal 24 bases and turn 24 singles into doubles, basically, then that's okay. The 258 doesn't look so bad. So definitely a guy that we want on our team. And then we don't really have any right fielders for our future. So we've got, I would say, probably 5 prospects that we're waiting for to come up. So we have a little more room to do in the draft. I think we need to draft a couple of really good guys every year to help kind of fill it in. Because again, I'm not going to spend godload of money trying to get someone on our team that like won't be realistic. Like I'm not going to try to go out and get Freddie Freeman. Like that's just not going to happen. Yeah, we're gonna roll with what we got. We're gonna roll with our homegrown talent. We're gonna build it up from there, and we're gonna hope that we got a bunch of guys like Reagans who can really grow into a true ace. We got some other guys that we're kind of looking at, like Miguel Garcia is 24. I mean, he could be really, really good. He has so many years left. He could be really, really good for us. So a lot of this year is going to be finding out who's staying around and who's going to build, who we're going to keep for our future, and who we're going to get rid of, and hopefully turn into some better players or prospects moving forward. So I want to sim through to the regular season, but I wanted to look at some position battles that might dictate where our roster goes. So before we do that, let's jump into it and look. Starting pitchers: Reagans, Lugo, Singer, Waka, and I'm kind of stuck between these three: Wright, Lynch, or Lyles. I would say probably Wright. I feel like he's kind of earned it more than Lynch and Lyles. But definitely kind of a battle there. We'll see if it's like astronomically different. Like if Wright is throwing like a super high ERA and Lynch is throwing like a 2.18 ERA, then we might change that. But the starting pitchers, the relief pitchers are pretty much solidified here at the top. The closing pitchers, we can see what James does. If he has a really, really bad, start to the season, then we could bring up Jake Brentz, but I don't think he's going to be coming up anytime soon. Furman and Perez are going to be our catchers. We might have to bring Austin Nola up depending on if injuries or whatever happen. That's pretty much solidified in stone. First baseman, the Pasquatch and Prado. I think Prado has earned the spot on the major league roster, but he's probably one of those guys that, like, if something happens or we have to bring a guy up, Prado's probably the guy going down. Second base, Frazier and Massey are gonna be the two there. Third base, I'm gonna say one of these guys, probably this guy, will have to send down just because we'll have to make the space. But Miguel Garcia is definitely our starting third baseman. Same thing with shortstop, definitely our starting shortstop. Nick Lofton, I think, is gonna take some time, away from second base and third base and stuff like that. So, and I think Garrett Hampson, we'll see. I think he could possibly do well for us. But he's not a guy that we're like sold on, like, okay, he's going to give us, X, Y, and Z every day. Like last year he had a great year, but the 3 years before that, not so much. So you just never really know, but he's, again, another kind of quick guy that can get on the base pass and kind of make people a little reckless. So kind of what we want on this team moving forward is kind of Garrett Hampson. Left field, Melendez got that locked down, no problem there. Center field, I believe Waters has us locked down as well. We'll see if the averages are like astronomically different. Could change our minds. And then right field is probably going to be this might be a shootout. I think Blanco will come off the bench. I don't think he's a guy that's going to be in our everyday lineup. I don't think he could handle being in the everyday lineup. We might have to send one of these guys down. We'll see. We'll see, because I'm not sure if he's a guy that really could produce for us besides being a pinch runner or something like that. So we'll have to see how everything shakes out, but that's what we're looking for a position battle. So there's a few position battles that we're kind of looking towards and saying, okay, is this going to be a real position battle, or how's this going to go? So let's just sim up here and get through it. All right, we are at the end of March here, 14-14. It's kind of meh. It is what it is. Let's take a look and see how our people are doing here, how they're looking as starting pitcher, 4.55. Again, these aren't going to be like, oh my gosh, this is 5.23. We can't keep him. It's more or less down here. And of course, these two that we're going to argue about have great ERAs. I guess they're not starting pitching, so they have a little lower inning. I don't know. I think we just go Kyle Wright here. And then if Waka or Kyle Wright, either of them struggle, Lynch is always kind of available to bring up. Relief pitching is just going to stay here. It's going to be what it is. Josh Taylor did get hurt, so that is known. Sauer is going to have to be on the team because he's a Rule 5. We'll see what they do. Carlos Hernandez is so good. I don't know why he continues to get like C potential. I feel like he's just so good. He throws so hard. So we'll see with him. Closing, Carter's done his job enough. A 4.15 is not awful. Nola going down there, obviously. Hopefully Salvi can, if Salvi can hit 259 all year, perfect. First baseman, these two are locked in. Second base, okay, Massey's got a little catching up to do. Massey's actually hitting more than Frazier, but Frazier's hitting for a higher average, so we'll see. We'll see what opening day looks like. I would say Massey would start for us, but if he's struggling early on, Frazier might come in quick. Third base, Garcia smacking it. Love to see that. Eaton's not doing too bad. Brasaru, they're going to probably just send him down just because we don't have the space. Hampson, not bad. Witt, not bad. Amazing. Nick Lofton, 7 at-bats. Not a big sample size there. Melendez, struggling. Wished it was better. Nothing we can really do about it right now. Looks like Waters is actually looks like Isbell starting over Waters in center field. Renfroe, Velasquez, Blanco, not good. But not surprised there. Not surprised there. So let's go ahead and make some changes with the roster. We're going to send to the season. I'll show you the lineup of our starters and everything, and then we'll call it an episode. And then the next episode, we're going to start the season off with opening day. Starting pitchers, as I said, we got those. Looks like we dropped down. So it looks like Lynch will probably be a long reliever for us. I will go through here later and do these. I just want to look at our starting MLB pitchers right now. So yeah, Hernandez has to be up here. Does it say I used one of his? Yeah, 3 of 3 used. Why is there 3 of 3 used already? Yeah, he has to be up there. I mean, he's one of our best pitchers. I guess what we could do is, well, AAA waits a while before they start. I'm gonna say we'll see who's struggling in the majors and then bring him up. MacArthur, perfect. These two, perfect. They sent Nola down. Prado, they sent down the AAA. Prado, Massey. See, Massey has to be up here because I think Massey takes a starting position. So we've got 2 that we got to make up for. Garcia, that's fine. This is fine. Okay. Isbell, that's fine. Blanco needs to be sent down. Blanco needs to be sit down. I'm kind of at a spot because, Massey needs to be for sure up. Massey for sure needs to be up here. Who do we need to send up or down to get him up here? You know what? We're dropping him off. I'm sorry. He's just not good enough to even send him. Once we're able to get open, which we just did, we will put in. I really want Hernandez up. So yeah, we'll just wait and see who's struggling. Whoever's struggling, we'll replace him with Carlos Hernandez. That's going to be our starting lineup. Let's go to depth chart. Garcia's going to lead us off. Then I think you got to go Witt, right? And then we go to Pasquatch, then Salvi. All right, so that's going to be our starting lineup for day 1 opening day, which will be the next episode. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you guys hit the red subscribe button so you don't miss the rest of the Dynasty franchise rebuild. I'm gonna really try hard to get a lot of episodes out for this as quickly as possible. Just kind of, I'm not going to be posting them on a certain day. So just watch your inboxes. They'll hit them. You'll watch it. You'll love it. Keep moving forward and see if we can rebuild these Royals. If you guys like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Also, feel free to hit the red subscribe button so you don't miss the rest of the rebuild as well. Until next time, Slacker out.